Ready? Today, the nonpartisan Legislative Audit Division released their findings into baseless allegations that Senate President Matt Regier had done something wrong by illegally contracting with outside legal counsel. I want to be clear with everyone listening about exactly what happened here. Senate President Matt Regier has been the ethics sheriff this legislative session. He's the one that blew the whistle on shady and illegal contracts entered into by the former Senate president. He's also been working to uphold the integrity of the Montana State Senate by holding a member of his own party, Senator Jason Ellsworth, accountable for his misdeeds. But not only that, President Regier is also sponsoring the bill to close the loophole in the state lottery system that special interests slipped into legislation last session. The unethical actors in this building do not like that President Regier has been holding them to account as the ethics sheriff. So Senator Jason Ellsworth and his allies planted a story full of misinformation and false innuendo in the news media to attempt to damage President Regier and take him out. They tried to shoot the sheriff, and they missed. The facts clearly laid out in the legislator's auditor's report show their allegations were false and were nothing more than a slimy public relations hit piece. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Senate President Matt Regier.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. First, I want to thank the Legislative Audit Division for their diligent and thorough work through investigating not just myself, but Senator Ellsworth as well. They've had a busy session this go-around. Investigating me against the Montana Free Press and also Senator Shelley Vance. The Legislative Audit Division is charged with holding everyone in state government accountable to the taxpayers of Montana and also the people. And they take that nonpartisan job very seriously and professionally. So thank you, Legislative Audit. Second, I would also like to pledge my support, not just now also, but also during the interim, to fully support taking a look at the legislative process, not just the legislative process, but also the executive process and how the entire Capitol works with contracts, with budget, with appropriations, and how we can make that more transparent for the people of Montana. Everything we do up here should be transparent. However, given all the attention on contracts this session, I'm open to any suggestion on how to make that process better. And with that said, I'd like to see the legislative audit, I'm glad to see the Legislative Audit Report fully bring to light all the false allegations that have been thrown. How we got to this point that we're standing out now is astounding. All of these intentionally misleading allegations against me were only ever made by one reporter and in one single news story in the Montana Free Press. That news story was published a week after I sat down for an hour-and-a-half long interrogation by the same reporter who had already made up his mind on what the story was going to be, even though he was wrong about and repeatedly told why he was wrong by the nonpartisan attorney and myself. The Montana Free Press still published a story full of unsourced, untrue legal conclusions, inaccuracies, contradictional claims, and baseless innuendo. The Montana Free Press editors have also now been sitting on a request for retractions and corrections for well over a week. The one news story, and that news story only, was the citation that Senator Shelley Vance gave. She made the motion on the Senate floor to investigate me over these intentionally misleading allegations. As an elected official, I don't expect an apology from the Free Press to me, and I'm not going to hold my breath for an apology from Senator Shelley Vance either. But I will say the Montana Free Press and Senator Vance do need to apologize to the other victims of their actions. Our dedicated, nonpartisan staff who did nothing wrong, but nonetheless were hacked up like crazy in this news story, and the private citizen, Abby Moscatel, who I know to be a person of the highest ethical character and who's been baselessly defamed and continues to suffer harassment and reputational harm because of this incident. Calling on the Montana Free Press to immediately and publicly retract all of the wrong information and baseless innuendo that they published. I'm also calling on the Montana Free Press and Shelley Vance to immediately and publicly apologize to the legislature's nonpartisan staff and to Abby Moscatel, a private Montana citizen. I remain committed to rooting out corruption and unethical behavior at the legislature and also in this state government. And I'm going to continue to do that no matter what the retaliation or false allegations are to anyone that tries to shoot me next time. So with that, that is a promise to the people of Montana. That's what I would expect if I was out there, and that's what I'm promising them today. So I will open it up to questions for anybody. Seaborn.
I believe legislative auditors presented this report to you and the minority leader. In any conversation with Pat Flowers, do you expect this to still go forward to ethics?
So to correct that, they did. I'm the source of it. They did not report it to me. They reported it to the pro tem and majority leader, as well as Pat Flowers, I'm sure, the minority leader. And no, I hope this puts an end to it here. It was obviously politicized at the end. You see that Jason Ellsworth is a vindictive guy. Let's be straightforward with that. Got people to go along with him, got some of the press to go along with him, and I hope this is the end of it and we get back to, what is really ethical and rooting out the corruption that's real corruption, not false allegations.
Mr. President, is there anything that you feel you wish you had done differently or that you feel could have been better handled the way this, or do you stand by the way that you handled everything through this, the discussion about the hiring and all that was looked into?
Sure, no, not at all, and that's what the ledge audit came up with. Everything I went down to our nonpartisan attorneys there in legislative services. They drafted all the contracts, everything. I relied on them. It's all up and up, and I do think in light of Senator Ellsworth's his actions and what has transpired with that, I do think that we can. I'm a huge applaud to our staff that caught Senator Ellsworth and his trying to circumvent what he was doing there with his buddy. And so with that, I do think there's a way that we can be more transparent here in the legislature as well as the executive branch. We saw some stuff. Pro Tem mentioned lottery bill that was slipped into Senate Bill 51 last time. I think a lot more things could be up here, could be more transparent.
The
Republican
Tom,
Party.
You could go ahead and send questions in writing like your team asked for earlier today. Thanks.
Well, I just wanted to note the Republican Party has said that they paid for this Lake County lawsuit. They indicated that they paid $14,440 on the lawsuit. When I asked you about that, why didn't you just say the Republican Party paid for it?
Happy to take your questions in writing, Tom.
Once we get an apology, we can talk. Any other journalists have a question? What's that? Same question, sir. Same question. You bet. So that was a private matter, and I was asked by the press to indulge without even talking with the other side of who was paying for it. Is that okay if I talk to the press about what we had in a private matter? So, which is, once again, for Senator Vance to make that motion on not disclosing a private matter as a matter of ethics is, to me, embarrassing.
Just want to clarify, Abby Moscatel is still a contractor for the Senate then, correct?
She has a contract for this session and has not billed anything. We've not used her for anything.
Do you plan to?
No, not at this time.
Traditionally, when the audit division goes through a hotline investigation like this and finds no substantiation to allegations, they do not publish a memo. Obviously, we did see a 6-page memo today. Was that something that you requested given the public nature of the allegations?
I'd have to, I don't even know how you guys got it. So,
Was that, Pro Tem, were you guys expecting that kind of memo given that you asked to, basically make everything as public as possible?
We never asked for a memo. We had done our due diligence by sending the motion down to Audit Division. We had been made aware that they would come back with some type of finding, and then we were to stand by for that. And this memo is what came from that.
So we're clear procedurally for all you guys. The last time earlier this session, the Senate floor referred something to an outside entity. At that time, it was DOJ. To formally send over that vote of the Senate president sent a letter to DOJ referring that. He did the same thing in this case, brought a letter down to legislative audit about himself, signed by him, relaying in writing the motion on the Senate floor. Several of you have known about that for a while. Procedurally, that's how it started. Same way that the last outside investigation started.
And like I said, like I told many of you that same day that the motion was made on the floor, happy to turn it over, and like I said, I sleep well at night. Everything was up and up, and as it came out today, that proves it was right.
You've mentioned Senator Ellsworth a couple of times in this conference. I'm curious about two things. If you've discussed further plans with Senator Flowers, like you both indicated you would, and if you plan to bring another motion to expel at any time soon.
Yes, I sat down with Minority Leader, Democrat Minority Leader Flowers. We're on different ends of that spectrum as it sits right now. We've got a lot of senators, and you saw it was bipartisan, that rightfully upset at the damage that's been done to the integrity of this building and this process. And where we go from here for a punishment for Senator Ellsworth is still up in the air. Punishment or expulsion. Any other further questions? I will just finish with this, that this was meant to be a distraction. This was meant to be a distraction from Senator Ellsworth and his true ethical shortcomings. Hopefully we're beyond that now, and we can move on to the legislation of the people of Montana and finish out this session strong. So, thank you all.